Welcome back to Permission Slip Granted. This month we're asking what feeds you, and today we're diving into relationships of all kinds, from friendships to marriage to family dynamics. We're talking about the energy we give, the connections we crave, and how to tell when a relationship is nourishing or just plain draining. So let's get into it.
Welcome back. Yes, laughter and all. We are here for another conversation at Permission Slip Granted. We are focusing this month on what feeds you. And today we want to talk about friendships and relationships. So, Kristin, can you think back in your life to a friendship that didn't feed you, that actually kind of took more from you than it gave to you?
I went way deeper, real fast, way quicker than I thought we were going to.
What? Us being deep and vulnerable?
No, oh my God. I know, right? No, I was like, oh, this is going to be an easy topic. Let's talk about friends, relationships. Woohoo. One that didn't feed me, a few come to mind, but I want to talk about a little bit, my adult life recently. I've had this epiphany.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I've read Mel Robbins' book, Let Them, like a long time ago. And I remember she had this, it was like, I literally remember while I was in it outside of the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, she had the same experience. And it all clicked. And it was like that moment of like, okay, it's not about me relation to them, it's about how I'm choosing in this moment, right? Like I'm talking specifically, like there was this period of I wanted to be accepted, I wanted to be liked, I wanted to I think for me, I'm always like worried about perceptions of how I'm coming off. Am I too much? Am I too loud? Like there was this limiting belief that I had a long time ago that I carried through a lot of my life. And like these last 5 years, I really peeled back the layers to get interested into what that was. And I specifically remember there was a picture of a group of friends of mine who I know all of them. And they were at a birthday. And I was like, I didn't even get invited to that. And that feeling was like, at first I was like, I went to my husband and I was like, oh, well, I thought I knew them better. And he's like, well, maybe they just randomly, he was like trying to pacify me with like different scenarios. And I was like, well, I don't think that was it. And then I started to think, well, do I really matter to them? And why do I matter? Why does that matter? Like there was all these questions that coming up. So like this friendship did not serve me in the way of, I realized, wow, I'm so trying to fit in because of the group rather than because of what I was gaining from it. So that was like really what came up for me just now was like, there's still people that I associate with, but they're not in my inner circle.
Yeah.
And I chose that because I feel like breaking up with this idea of the feeling of importance to somebody was so paramount in that moment of reflection of what it was about that photo and those people. And it wasn't just that one time. Like I've had friends that like I've been friends with since I was 4 and I see them hanging out and I was like, I didn't know they were hanging out. I would have came too. It's not about me. It's about what they were doing. And like, that's what I realized. It's okay to not be invited. It's okay to not be included in absolutely everything because that doesn't define me or the quality of friendship that I have with those people. It was just that was their moment that they needed. And I don't have to be present for every single event.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it now, and I think the idea of acceptance and not the need to be validated through being seen all the time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think in today's day and age where, and I know that Facebook is on the decline and mainly for old folks. So if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha and you're listening, just know I'm aware, but it's an easy way we could liken it to Instagram and followers. But I remember when I first started using Facebook that so many people were like, how many friends do you have, right? How many followers do you have? And it was all of this push to have quantity, right? Mm-hmm. But I think around the conversation of the relationships that feed you, quality is far more important than quantity.
100%. Yes.
So
I,
I want to make sure to clarify for people, I'm not saying don't have lots of friends, but when it comes to what feeds you, really be looking at quality versus quantity and have that at the forefront of your mind. If you come away from an interaction with a same group of friends or one particular friend that's just constantly draining you, I'm not saying just write off the person,
yeah.
but sit and reflect on what are you really getting from this relationship and what changes could you make, right? They might be someone that is a coworker that's in your life on a day-to-day basis. So you can't just not be friends with them. Could you maybe tailor how often you hang out outside of work, right? Find the small ways, because you only get one life. And I don't think you ought to be spending it worrying about pleasing somebody else.
Yeah. I actually had something came to mind just there. I had a client. She had a friend that she constantly wasn't feeling always reciprocated the way that she was giving energy. And when she was working with me, I asked her this question, well, does she bring any joy to your life? And she's like, yeah, when we're together, but it's the steps of getting together that I'm now feeling insignificant to her to make the effort to come and meet and coordinate. But then I asked her, I was like, but so you tell me that you enjoy the time you have together, but her coming to you or meeting you where you want her to, you're always having to put the effort in to go to her. That's what's bothering you? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I'm only saying this because if they're not bringing you joy, maybe analyze it. Is it the whole relationship, or is there parts of it that maybe you can accept
Yeah.
and move past? Because it's like what you focus on is what you see. If you see only I am putting in this effort, only I am doing this without seeing the whole picture of maybe what they are doing for you, there might be a workaround as well. That just came to mind real quick because I feel like not every relationship is going to be the same level of reciprocation.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. And I've learned that I used to put emphasis on whatever energy I give, I expect it back from that same person. And what I really learned from Jay Shetty's book, How to Think Like a Monk, is energy isn't a one way, it's circular and it always finds its way back. So if you put that energy out as a place of this is who I am authentically, and this is what feeds me by giving this energy, it's going to come back to me somehow. And when
Yeah.
I let go of that idea of like it needs to be the same, I I I don't know, I just have a complete different energy and I haven't been attracting so much more good energy around me and making connections as an adult. I mean, I'm a 40-year-old woman as well, and I feel like finding friends is hard when you go to a new community. It's hard,
Yeah.
right? And I literally just I feel like I have more connections now than I ever have in my entire life because I literally go in with my authentic self and I just show up who I am and I let the energy come to me.
You're not chasing it.
I'm not chasing it. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that was what I was doing before was how am I seen? How am I liked? Those types of things. And now I'm comfortable with who I am. And if you don't like me, that's okay. Somebody next to me or 5 people away might like me. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah. So that example with the person you were working with and how they figured out the one piece that wasn't working for them, that really just kind of circles back with this whole chasing piece, right? I believe it was a she that you said, she didn't feel like the scheduling, the prioritization was the same. She was chasing that friend to spend time with. Whereas if she allowed that time to come, however often it is, right? Then she can be focused on all of the amazing parts of that friendship,
Yeah.
of that relationship, and not have that piece that was bothering her. But I think what also is, I would recommend to people, um, this also should be a tagline of mine, is like, have the uncomfortable conversation.
Oh my God, I was so going there.
I like whether
I was going to steal your line, Kylee.
yeah, it doesn't have to be uncomfortable, but I recognize that for a lot of people, it probably is, which is why I'm using that label. Maybe, an intense conversation, an emotionally charged conversation. But when you lead from a place of, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is how I'm seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me understand, like for this exact person that we were just talking about, I'm feeling like I'm the only one who's initiating setting plans for the two of us. And I'm starting to become resentful. I don't want that for our relationship. So can you help me understand where you're at in regards to us getting together? Because then it allows for dialogue, and it's not coming from this place of, I'm the only one that's taking time to schedule our friend time, right? It just encourages deeper connection as well.
100%. I was totally going to go there with that.
Great minds think
Yeah, no, honestly, it just adult to an adult relationship is so paramount. And I feel like sometimes we don't say the hard thing. We don't, there's no confrontation. And we sit in our minds and we create the narrative without including the other person, that you're including that story in your head.
Yes.
Right. I literally had this with my husband yesterday, and it could have been an extremely big fight, but adult to adult, we've worked on a relationship. It's been 15 years. They have not always been easy years, but they're getting better because of the ability to lean in to be like, hey, you're struggling. What's going on here? I don't think that you meant to treat me that way. Outside of the moment, like I was like, okay, he needs a break. He needs distance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do my own thing. And then he actually came to me and he was like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have talked to you that way. And then we were able to unpack it in a very healthy adult to adult way, because I was able to be like, this, I bottom lined and I said, this is what I need. This is what I think you need. Tell me what you need. I want to be able to meet you where you're at, because clearly I missed something.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't usually react that way. And I was able to discern that in the moment, because I think of my own awareness that I've allowed into my life recently over the last few years, and just being like, okay, I'm observing, I'm choosing to see things differently,
Right.
versus all on me, right?
Yeah.
I'm now able to step outside the moment through practice. And I'm going to tell you, it was not easy in the beginning, but I'm removing myself from the narrative in that moment and being like, okay, this isn't about me. This is something else that's happening.
Yeah.
And it's been beautiful. It's been life-changing. And it's something that I don't ever want to change and go back to, being blind and, I don't know, living in this like, it was me. What's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Mentality. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't like to use the word lightly, but so I don't necessarily think this is what all people are experiencing, but that kind of victim mindset of like, this is happening to me, rather than I am actively participating in this. I think that's a big piece that you learn as you mature as an adult, that initially as children, as teenagers, maybe even for some of us as young adults, we do have that tendency of, this happened to me. Right. And in regard to relationships, right?
Yeah.
This person is ignoring me. That person may be unaware that you have a need. Where is your responsibility, your accountability to articulate that to them? I need connection. What time do you have today or tomorrow to spend together? And tell them what do you need for connection? Because for some, it's going to be, can we sit side by side and play video games together? For some people, it's going to be, I want to look into your eyes and talk to you soul deep conversations for an hour, right? Like it's going to be different for every person. But it's you can't expect people to read your mind. And so I hate that. I see them all the time in like memes and in reels, where it's like, this expectation. And yes, it tends to be between a heterosexual couple of a female and a male presenting person, where it's like, but it's making it seem like he should be able to read her mind simply because they've been married for 10 years. No, like that's not how this works, people.
No, not even with my kids. I think there's times where emotions get involved and we want so deeply for the other party to know our emotions without articulating what's going on inside, because sometimes we might be struggling with even being aware of what is actually bothering us.
Right.
But I think that that's where it's so important to really get to know who you are and what connects you to you, and to be able to figure out, okay, why did that bother me? Why was that a trigger? Why am I having this emotion? And how do I meet the other person on a level where we can fix it together?
Yeah.
Because it's not the other person's responsibility to fix you, but it is your responsibility to go and be able to be like, hey, this hurt me,
Yeah.
or this upset me, or this really made me feel not seen or minimize me. And just have that uncomfortable conversation in a place of, I deserve to be seen, and what happened didn't make me feel anything good. And
Right.
vice versa. You tell people they made you feel good. What we don't
Right.
always have to point out the bad. Like, I really love when so my husband's a big affirmations guy. I am not, so they're extremely hard for me to give. But I know that that's his love language. So I have to also fill him up. I can't
Yeah.
just always break him down.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, I don't want to say it's a quid pro quo situation, but it's like, I'm doing something because I love him, even though it's hard for me, because I know he needs that in order to feel the validation that he needs in our relationship.
Yeah.
And he does the same things for me. He does things for me that I know he doesn't like doing, but that's part of being in a relationship, and of any kind, whether it's a friendship, being a parent, having siblings, whatever relationship you are in, whatever type, it always starts with connection, right?
Yeah.
And being connected, whether it's, I don't know, like in the moment, separate across the world, it starts with words.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have those conversations, good and bad, and everything in between.
All right. So let me sum up what I'm hearing so far in our conversation. So, in order to have the higher quality connections that we are looking for, two big pieces are ensuring that connection is happening from both people in the relationship, and also the communication, both in the times where there are frictions or misunderstandings, but also in the moments that are positive and that make a difference for you in that positive way, making sure that that is articulated to the person as well. Something that came up is that, wait, let me pause for a second. Is that, would you agree?
Yeah,
So,
I just wanted to add one more thing that's, I think, very paramount to any relationship is reciprocation isn't always the same level, because the other person might not have the same skill set that you have to give the amount of energy that you're giving to the other person. That
right.
was huge for me. So that was
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that.
No, I think that's, and that comes into, I guess, maybe the third piece that we, as far as looking at relationships and what feeds you, is taking time to reflect, right? Not just to be in this experiencing phase of the relationship, but taking the time to look at, okay, I love how I feel with this person when we, let's say, when we go out to karaoke or we go out dancing. But if we spend, a whole week together, I notice that it's right. And so that doesn't make a judgment on that person. It simply is
Huh.
looking at, okay, I know this type of piece feeds me. Okay, so I'm going to, go after more of those types of experiences with this person rather than this, right? But that only comes when you have reflection.
Mm-hmm.
The piece that I want to circle back to, that I know we've talked about in another episode, that I think is kind of what you were saying with the reciprocation, with quid pro quo, not seeing things as transactional per se, but the idea of the bank account. And I heard this first from Reese Witherspoon, and I think it was on either Brene Brown's podcast or on Glennon Doyle's podcast. But the idea being that a relationship, an easy way to look at it is as a bank account, right? And that if you've got someone who's always withdrawing and not depositing, that is the sign that this is a relationship that is maybe not ideal, right? And I would take it a step further to talk about like different types of accounts, right? Maybe this is a rainy day savings account that you only visit every now and then. So it's not that day-to-day, living, needing it to be as reciprocated as, as that day-to-day partner. Maybe this friendship is something that you guys are just kind of both putting into from a distance, and, you get to see each other once a year, and that's when the big withdrawal happens, but you're just constantly putting in bits here and there with a text, with a phone call, right? Taking it and looking at the different types of accounts. I think there's something there. Money is definitely an area that I'm growing in personally. So I'm not sure I could take this metaphor much further, but I'm sure that you could take the metaphor into like a high yield savings account, or like, this is my stock market retirement account, or whatever. Like, I'm sure there are other ways that you could talk about it, but I just want to make sure that people understand it's not about being transactional so much as it is about illustrating the importance of any party that's in the relationship, making sure that there are going to be times where you withdraw more than you deposit, but making sure that the bulk of what you are bringing to the relationship is balanced.
Yeah, I'll add to that. In my marriage, we talk a lot about percentages, and sometimes we hear it's supposed to be 50-50. We believe it's 100%. Some days I am not 100%, and my husband has 100%, where I'm like, I'll look at him and be like, babe, I got like 5% left for that. And he'll be like, that's okay, I got 110. And I'm like, yes, okay. Then he's bringing the energy to the relationship for that day. But I have to tell him, I can't just have him know, and I can't know on his side. So communication is huge, huge.
Yeah. Sorry, but my geeky brain is like, Brene Brown talks about that too.
Does she?
Yeah, talked about it. I believe in her podcast.
Her books. No.
in her podcast, I believe is where she talked about it, that, she and her husband will have that. They have that same idea that between the two of them, they make 100, right? And some days, like she'll talk about when she, is coming home from a book tour or whatever, she's like, I'm at 10%. And he'll be like, okay, that's okay, I can cover the 90. And that in the moments where they're both looking at each other and going, one's like, I've got 20, and one's like, I've got 50. Okay, then what do we need to change for the next couple of days to cover that difference?
Yeah. One of the things that we do when we both know we're both drained like that, it's actually kind of beautiful, because then we both know we have to rally. And we rally for each other, not out of a space of like, well, you need to rally more. It was like, because we've done this song and dance for so long, that we know, okay, my 20% is this, his 30 is that. And somehow we come together and it's like, okay, it worked out. And it's okay to be 20% on some of the time, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to be 100% all the time. And then that's when we know, like, okay, we just need to sit and watch a show, or, hey, let's go take the dogs for a walk. Like, because we know what recharges us.
Yes.
So I think that that's important. Again, knowing, we talked about creativity, but knowing what fills you up and your soul and what's going to recharge you.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're in a relationship.
Yeah. And letting go of the things that maybe, being able to be flexible, right? So if you're in that moment, yes, figure out what you guys can do to help recharge yourself, but also maybe that's not the day to tackle spring cleaning, right?
No.
And so being able to be that's where that flexibility piece comes in. Okay, maybe you were supposed to cook some fancy dinner, which for me would be a 10 out of 10 spoons anyway, but like, I have done that before, where I will come home with my boys and I'll be like, y'all, I'm at about 15%. I'm not cooking dinner. We're ordering Domino's tonight. And they're, of course, the boys are like, yeah.
But, we have cereal nights sometimes. Like, you guys get cereal. And they're like, what? Really? Like, yeah.
So these are pieces in the more day-to-day relationships, whether it's a marriage or not. But having those conversations and being aware of where people are at with their energy levels. And I can't expect my boys to read my mind. I can't expect to read their mind. So have the conversations, find things that connect you, be willing to be flexible and recharge. I feel like there was something else that we talked about earlier that was a good takeaway.
Yeah, wrapping it.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I know. I know. We should have been taking notes along the way. No, we always dive into these conversations authentically. We don't prep. We don't plan. We literally come in with a topic, lead with a question, and see where this takes us. So yeah, we always invite your voice as well. So if you want to get involved into any of our conversations, go ahead and leave us a question on any of our topics. And you can find those on our website, permissionslipgranted.com. And there's a link there also to leave us a voice note.
Absolutely. Make sure to like and subscribe, rate, whether you're on Spotify or on YouTube. You can sign up for our emails. We are sending out a weekly latest and greatest from Permission Slip Granted. You can find us all on Instagram. We do a weekly live on Fridays, 12 p.m. Pacific time. What else? Oh, we've got our community, Kristin, right? If they go to our website, permissionslipgranted.com, you can join our online community. We are posting there a couple of times a week, and it's just to encourage connection and, fight this loneliness epidemic that so many of us are finding within our day-to-day lives.
Yes. Yes. Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this honest conversation about relationships that shape us. Whether it's a friend, a partner, or family, you deserve connections that feed you, not deplete you. Today, we're giving you permission to pause and reflect. Permission to have the uncomfortable conversation, and most of all, permission to choose yourself and what truly fills your cup. Next week on Permission Slip Granted, we're sharing how even the messiest moments can lead to purpose, and why the challenging stuff might just be feeding you more than you think. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time.